Just a quick reminder, we are 22% of the way to our St. Jude Play Live donation goal, which is a great start, but we're going to need some help getting there. So if you would like to make a tax-deductible donation of any size to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, you can type !St. Jude into the chat, and the link will pop right up. You can click on it. You can donate $1 million, you can donate $1. Every little bit helps us get closer to our goal and helps St. Jude fight in the good fight against pediatric cancer. So anything that you can contribute would be wildly appreciated. So, without further ado, this is the restream of my Super Mario Bros. 3 Frog Percent World Record run. I wanted to give people who wanted to see it a chance to do so, with the added bonus of my commentary on the run, and I'll also be answering any questions that people might have throughout the run. So all I have to do now is click on the video and we can go ahead and get started. There we are. So I'm watching it with you. This was 3 days ago, I believe I set the record. But I did it offline and recorded it because I didn't want distractions. So, pretty basic strats here. I do avoid the red Koopa. Shell strats are very important in this run because you notice movement in the frog suit is kinda clunky, especially if you've ever tried it, I don't know, but movement in the frog suit is very awkward. It takes a lot of time to get used to, and it's slower than just running. You kind of hop. The only way you can move in the frog suit is by jumping around, unless you pick up a Koopa shell. Picking up a Koopa shell allows you to run like normal Mario and accumulate P-speed, which is of course the fastest that you can move in Mario 3. So there are a lot of places where you can and should pick up a shell and then try to acquire P-speed in whatever space that you can. It's not always possible, and sometimes it doesn't even really save time. So you notice that I do skip it in a couple of places, and I do the shell strats in other places. It's sort of based on what I've personally found to be most effective. Although, looking back, if I did the shell strat in World 1, Level 1, it would... If I did it perfectly, I could save about 3 or 4 seconds, so that's something to note going forward, but I didn't do it here, as you could see. Still a pretty good time for my World 1. Yet I really only could have done a few seconds better. Otherwise, I believe this to be the most optimized World 1. You can do a shell strat here as well. In my personal experience, it doesn't save time, so I just hop through it. I make my jumps as precisely as possible to land where I need to be able to jump right into the next thing. That's pretty much the whole... The nature of the run is timing your jumps as precisely as possible. I do pull off a shell strat in this level. You'll see in a couple of seconds here. So we grab this green guy, we hop up. This requires pretty good timing, because you only have a limited amount of space on that platform to pick up P-speed. It happens pretty much at the exact end of the runway, so you really do, when you grab the shell and you're jumping up, you really do need to land at the very beginning of the runway. If you're a couple centimeters off, you won't be able to acquire enough P-speed to make the jump. If you make the jump without the P-speed, you'll just fall straight to your death. You'll notice that this run is largely damage boosting as well, which is intentionally taking damage just to get through it as quickly as possible. But there are still several ways that you can die in Frog % runs, namely falling off screen, falling into lava, getting eaten by Big Bertha, or Boss Bass, you know, the big fish, the big cheeps. Just to name a few, I think there might be one or two more ways that you can take a death, such as in these auto-scrolling levels here, the airships. I think it might be possible to get sandwiched and crushed. So there's still 4, 5, 6 ways you can die in Frog %, somewhere in that ballpark. And with how clunky the movements are in the frog suit, you would be surprised actually how easy it is to just fall into a hole and die, because your jump was a second off, or like a fraction of a second off, or a centimeter off from what you were trying to accomplish. It also moves alarmingly fast in water. The frog suit is the fastest way that you can move in water, which can make it a little... Again, in World 3, we're gonna see a couple of boss basses, and it can be very easy to slip up there and get eaten if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Here I do some bounce strats, which is fun. I screwed it up a little bit, but ultimately not really a time loss. Maybe a second. Not a huge deal. Hey, Pinball Undesirables. Thank you so much for that, host. I appreciate it. This is a good stream for that. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. The most important part of this run is coming up in just a couple of levels, and I will try to explain it to the best of my ability. But essentially, the whole reason this run was possible is because of something in Mario 3 called the early hammer, which is super, super rare. Like 1 to 2% chance of getting it in any given run. And you'll see, you can look at the clock at this point, it's already been 6 minutes, so... Every single time, like if you're grinding for the early hammer, every single time you need to get like 7 minutes into the run before you even figure out whether or not you even have a chance at getting it, so it can be very, very time consuming. But basically, the early hammer allows me to skip 3 levels, which saves, in this case, maybe about a minute. It varies, because you'll see me take some intentional deaths to trigger getting it. It's a very slim chance. Basically, the hammer, you need to get a hammer that allows you to smash a rock in the lower in the lower area of World 2. That allows you to skip, I'll show you on the map here, it allows you to skip level 3, it allows you to skip the sun level to the right of level 3, and it allows you to skip level 5. So 3 levels, and they're not ridiculously long levels to begin with, but still, a time save of 3 levels, no less. That rock, down and to the right of me just there, can be broken with the hammer item. If you see me take an intentional death here because I see that the early hammer is possible. I've already defeated the hammer brother with the music box, so I know that that hammer brother on screen is the one with the hammer. So I'm taking intentional deaths here to try to trigger him to move over level 3 and on to me. Every time you complete a level or die, it triggers the hammer brother movements. So we're going to see right here. By some miraculous luck, he moves all the way from the far right of World 2, all the way over to me, past the sun level, past level 3, and straight to me, giving me the hammer, allowing me to smash that rock, and skip level 3, the sun level, and level 5 to go straight to the pyramid. So that was a huge time save. The previous world record also had an early hammer, which is why it was pretty difficult to beat beforehand, but at this point in the run, I had already outpaced the world record. My World 1 time, as you can see, the green split right up there, my World 1 time was better than his World 1 time, I had a lot of practice in World 1. My World 2 time is going to be better. Even, like, my early hammer, it took 3 deaths to trigger it. The previous world record, it took him 2 deaths to trigger it. Just a tiny bit luckier than me, if I remember correct. I'm pretty sure it was a 2-death early hammer. Mine was a 3-death early hammer. Obviously, you want as few deaths as possible. And if it takes more than 4 or 5 deaths, it's not even a time save, so... I got lucky getting it. Not as lucky as a 2-death, a 1-death, or a no-death early hammer, but lucky enough to accomplish this run. And you'll see I'm still on a good pace right here. The auto-scrollers, you factor in roughly a minute and a half, depending on the world. And you can see we're a ways through the World 2 airship already. And I'm still up by about a minute. So I'm on a good pace already at this point. I'm confident. I know that if I keep going, if I have a good run, if I use all of the skills that I had been practicing for the 2 or 3 weeks up to this point, I was already confident that I could get the record. I got the luck, I had the practice and the skill that I needed. So pretty much all I had to do at this point was, you know, keep calm and collected and just do my best, because I knew my best was going to be good enough. So you'll see here, by the time he drops the wand, and the splits end at the wand grab, I am up 10 seconds at this point in the run. And I know that my World 3 and World 4 times are generally very good. I never cared for World 2. My World 2 times were honestly always a little bit lackluster. I had a couple of good World 2s throughout the 2 or 3 weeks that I practiced, but my expertise was always in World 1, World 3, and World 4. And eventually, I practiced World 5 and got pretty good at that. It's still not my strong suit. World 2 took a lot of practice, but ultimately it was that early hammer that made this run possible. Because I knew that my World 1, my World 3, and my World 4 were very good. I practiced them a lot. I was getting consistently very good times in those 3 worlds. And I had practiced enough at this point that even going into World 5, I was fairly confident. There was a slight luck-based element. And I do lose like 10 seconds later on due to something that was completely out of my control. Unfortunately, this game is very RNG-based, so skill does matter a lot, obviously. You go back and you can watch my run, you can watch any other run on the leaderboard, and there is an incredible amount of skill, and you can tell that we've practiced this a lot. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is going to come down to luck. I got very lucky with this early hammer. The world record holder before me had a lot of luck with his 2-death early hammer. It was even more luck than I had. So it was a combination of luck and skill. You could see right there, I kind of landed in the water on top of Boss Bass. If I were an inch to the left or right, it probably would have ate me. That goes back to what I was saying before. It's shockingly easy to get eaten when you're flying around in the water in the frog suits. It's very fast. And there are definitely points where it's very easy to fall into lava or fall off screen if you're not paying very close attention and timing your jumps exactly right. So I'm thankful that I didn't have any screw-ups at this point. Because I could have gotten eaten. I could have fallen into the lava in any of the forts, but I do have to chase down this hammer brother, because I used the hammer, the early hammer. Luckily, usually you use that hammer later on in the run in World 4. But since I got it early, I was able to use it to smash the rock and skip those 3 levels. So I had to do these Hammer Brothers. These were actually unskippable. Because, I mean, you technically can, but if I don't have a hammer going into World 4, then I have to do the World 4 Fortress. Whereas if I have one, I can completely skip that level. Which, again, obvious time save. I ended up skipping 6 levels total in this run. One of which you'll see coming up soon. By doing both of the hammer... Every time you complete a level in World 3, those green drawbridges go up and down. And I knew that by doing both of the Hammer Brothers, the bridge that I need to be down is going to be down right now, allowing me to cloud over level 6, which is an auto-scroller and a lengthy one, so I can skip right over that level, using the cloud item that I got at the beginning of World 3. To skip that auto-scroller, save a lot of time. That's standard, like, you have to do that in this run. And I had to do that Hammer Brother to get the hammer, which raised the drawbridge up, so doing the second one lowered it back down by the time I got to it. So I had to do those Hammer Brothers anyway. Skipping them wouldn't have done me any favors. You see another shell strat coming up right here. It's not perfect, there is a better way to do this, but point being, you see me grab the shell and I can move a lot faster in P-speed than I would otherwise. You can jump over this instead of crushing through the bricks. If you time your jump with the shell exactly right, I messed it up. Lost a few seconds, I suppose. I don't know exactly how much time it saves, but that's okay. Still on a very good pace at this point. You can see I am about to go into the World 3 airship, and I'm still up 2 minutes. The airship triggers when I hit the castle, and at this point I'm up 1 minute and 58 seconds, so I know I'm on a phenomenal pace. I was confident in my World 3, confident in my World 4. My World 1 was pretty good. I don't want to sit here and pat myself on the back. It was definitely the result of, you know, a lot of practice. I see you there, Pasta. I do not see your chat, however. So maybe just try to resend whatever you send. I saw you posted something that's not coming up in my chat. I am glad that you were able to make it. This is an exciting run. So the auto-scrollers are pretty standard. There's really nothing you can do. You just have to wait while the screen scrolls. The Koopaling boss fights take maybe like roughly 10 seconds. Each one you have to hit on the head 3 times while dodging their attacks. Pretty standard. They each have their own unique abilities. Like Wendy has a wand where she shoots out those circular items that bounce around the stage and damage you if you touch them. So by the end of the World 3 airship, I was up 33.3 seconds. So that's a very good position to be in. And I love World 4. Super confident in my World 4. It's my favorite world in the game. I've got my strats down. I know what to do. Minor screw up there. Playing it very safe there, because I have fallen and died there several times, to be perfectly honest, and it was something I did not want to happen in this run, where the record was on the line. So I play it a little bit safe in some places, knowing that I've got a good lead, and if I die, it's gonna lose a lot of time, so I don't really do too many risky things in this run. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do in the frog suit, though. This level is pretty standard, pretty quick. Just kind of hop your way through it. You're gonna see another shell strat coming up in the next level, although I believe I fight the Hammer Brother first. Yep, so we're gonna do this Hammer Brother right here, and it gives us a cloud. So this cloud item is going to allow me to skip another auto-scroller in World 5, which saves like well over a minute. Again, you have to do that in this run. You cannot do that auto-scroller and get a good time. It's just too long. So here's another shell strat. We're gonna let that one hit that one and get it out of our way. Take this one, acquire P speed, and just fly through the level. Timing my jumps just right. And then it's just a matter of jumping to the exit from there. You'll notice these cards at the end of the level. You can get either a star, a mushroom, or a flower, and they all trigger depending on, I think, like the angle and the frame that you enter the box. And in a speed run, you do not want to trigger 3 in a row. In a normal run, like in any casual run, you do want to, because if you get 3 stars in a row, you get 5 extra lives. If you get 3 flowers in a row, you get 3 extra lives. And if you get 3 mushrooms in a row, you get 2 extra lives. However, it triggers fireworks if you do line up 3 in a row, which takes extra time depending on whether it's stars, flowers, or mushrooms. I didn't actually mean to use a star here. That was completely pointless, but it doesn't really... I don't really hurt or gain from it. There are invisible blocks there, so I had to be careful to jump from pipe to pipe, as opposed to going down and jumping back up, because then I would hit the blocks and get stuck for a second. They're the fireworks I was talking about. Could have saved 5 seconds, or 6 or 7 seconds, something like that. If I had not triggered those. That was annoying. Super annoying. That was probably the second worst thing that could have happened in this run behind a death. Because that's an easy time save, is just not getting those fireworks to trigger. So for those of you who are still here and whose messages I'm not seeing pop up in chat, stick around, because this run ends in 10 minutes, and I'm gonna refresh the chat at that point. Or actually, it shouldn't hurt me to refresh it now. Let's test that out real quick. Go fast! Okay, I can see my own chat, so if you wanna, say whatever you wanna say, just to see if I can read it now. So you noticed I used the music box item, which put those Hammer Brothers to sleep, allowing me to skip over them completely. It would have taken 8, 9, 10 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark, for each Hammer Brother that I had to do. Or maybe even as long as 12 seconds, it depends on the world. But by using that music box that I acquired in World 2, I was able to skip over them completely. That saves, 16 to 24 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, you pretty much have to do it. It's all of these things add up. You could have a phenomenal run, but if you ended up doing a bunch of extra Hammer Brother levels, or ended up in an auto-scroller, you're not gonna get a podium time. You need all of those time saves. This is the longest airship in the run, I believe. I think this is the longest auto-scrolling level in the Frog Percent run. I don't recall exactly how long it takes. Maybe like a minute and a half, somewhere close to 2 minutes. It's long. In general, the airships are pretty long, but this one in particular is, I believe, the longest one. It's just a waiting game. The worst thing, well, no, far from the worst, there are far worse things, but it's not a good feeling when you're speedrunning and you're stuck in a position like an auto-scroller where you cannot go fast, and you just see the clock ticking away, and you're stuck there. So again, grab the wand, cuts the split there. Going into World 5, I'm up 50 seconds. Great position to be in. I've been practicing my World 5 strats a lot by this point. And you're gonna see the same thing here. You'll see that World 5 is broken up into two parts, top and bottom, because it's like the sky world. And this is the ground part of World 5, and you notice on the right side there are two more Hammer Brothers. But once we get over there, we're going to use another music box that we got. You get two in this run. So we're going to use the second music box to quiet those Hammer Brothers and skip over them. This is so easy, but it always makes me nervous every time. I'm always scared that I'm gonna fall right here. Every time that makes me nervous. Pretty standard here, again, just timing our jumps as well as possible. It's Frog Suit in a nutshell. It's just timing your jumps. Excuse me. I'm still getting over a cold. My voice isn't all there. But that's irrelevant. So we're gonna pipe over. Now, so you can use the music box before or after the fort. I've been trying to figure out if it has an effect on the third Hammer Brother in the top part of World 5, which it does. If you use the music box here, it does put that third Hammer Brother to sleep. But I've been trying to figure out the effects of whether or not it helps it, whether or not the music box helps to move it out of your way or not. Because I always get ridiculously unlucky in World 5. I always get stuck doing that third Hammer Brother. Because it can move out of your way, and you'll save, again, somewhere between like 9 and 12 seconds. But it always moves directly in my way, and that's all RNG. So we put the Hammer Brothers to sleep here to climb the Twisty Castle to get to the top part of World 5, which is the final leg of the run. You'll see that third Hammer Brother up at the top. It gets me every time. I don't think I've ever actually skipped it. In 639 documented attempts. Not that I've made it to World 5 in every single one of those runs, that would be absurd. But undocumented, by the way, it's been over 1,000 attempts. But you can see up in the very top right corner of the splits, it says that this is run 639. Which is a good number. Some 3 of my favorite numbers. This level right here, you really do have to time your jumps and kind of position yourself just right so that you don't get whacked off the screen by those red propellers. It's pretty easy to do, even just touching the tip of them can throw you way off course. Just trying very hard to not trigger more fireworks there, that would have been miserable. In the Frog Suit, it's very easy. You tend to get the stars all of the time. You have to purposefully try to not get the stars. You're gonna see another shell strat right here. You knock this guy into a corner, grab him, Bounce around, turn to avoid losing the shell to that PD Piranha, jump and bounce off of that fire tail, and then just fly through the rest of the level. It's definitely the fastest that you can do that. That one required a little bit of practice. So you can see that Hammer Brother move right in my way. He could have moved down, he could have moved left, and either way I wouldn't have had to deal with him. I could have saved like 9 to 12 seconds there, but no. Moved right in my way. So we grab this shell again here just to kind of move along, even if I don't pick up P-speed. It helps a little bit. This is imperfect. I just try my best to bounce through the level at this point. A little bit of lag. Pretty much unavoidable. There are certain points where the game will always lag, just due to things like the number of enemies on screen and stuff like that. But at this point, it's pretty much a straight shot. There's no more RNG in the run. We do this fort, we do level 8, cloud over level 9, and then the final airship. And in Frog % runs, the run ends as soon as you defeat Roy Koopa in World 5 and grab his wand. That's where the run ends, because you can't really progress beyond that in the frog suit. You can get as far as the first fort in World 6, and then you can't get any further. The reason for that is the frog suit Mario takes up 2 blocks like any other large Mario, and there's a point in the fortress in World 6 where there's no other way past. There's there's a 1 block opening that you can only get through if you're small Mario, or if you crouch and duck under it. But we can't crouch in the frog suit, it just takes up 2 blocks all the time, no matter what. And you can't get out of the frog suit, or it would completely invalidate the run, so... That's why the frog % ends at the end of World 5. You cannot progress any further. It's not possible. Cloud over level 9 there, that's an auto-scroller. Again, it's like a minute or longer, so it's the most optimal place to use that cloud. Every other level we can pretty much race through, aside from the other auto-scroller we skipped in World 3. The 2 levels that you definitely want to skip. At this point, it's just a matter of waiting. We're in the final airship. We just have to scroll through it. And bouncing around, avoiding danger as much as possible. But it's a clear shot from here. I know that the only thing at this point standing between me and the record is defeating Roy. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do in the frog suit. Like, it really is a super fun category to run, which is why I chose it. I started practicing other categories like any %, no wrong warp, and 100%, which are both super fun, don't get me wrong, but pretty stressful if you're anything less than perfect. And that is it. That is my Super Mario Bros. 3 Frog % world record run.